Welcome back, Mindsetters, to this exciting session. I'm here with Kathy, who's going to be taking...
Exciting.
It's exciting. It is exciting.
You know what I think we should do, grade 11s, is we should actually challenge Ty to write one of your tests.
Ooh.
Because he's standing here and I'm teaching, and he enjoys it so much, clearly.
I know. The thing is that about that, Kathy.
I love you too, darling. Oh, he's so
she always likes to put me on the spot.
Okay.
That's what makes these sessions fun, though. But Kathy, tell us.
We did bacteria. We've done viruses. Okay. Now we're going to do protists, and they are yucky. Some of them are very yucky, and others are very cool. So we're going to have a look
See
at
how
that.
that goes. Okay, so while Kathy takes a stroll across, I'm going to tell you guys the drill. Make sure you guys, I always tell you this. Make sure you get your pens, your pads out. You guys are making notes. You guys are writing. Because, guys, this is all important stuff. It's for your exams. Like Kathy's trying to make me write your tests, So I'm also trying to pay attention right now. So, guys, make sure you get on the page, www.facebook.com/learnextra. And if Twitter's your thing, tweet us at learnextra. But for now, I think I'm going to hand it over to Kathy. Kathy, we're good to go?
Cool.
Alrighty.
Okay, people. I've put all of this information here because I actually wanted you to see it. And John is going to be converting it into little word sets, note sets, paper-based stuff that you can actually download. All right, but this is important. And they're the basics. So where have we got to? We've done the viruses, which don't get classified anywhere. Okay, they're not living, non-living. No one can actually reach a consensus. Okay, because they can do nothing other than reproduce when they are in a host cell. Then we did bacteria, and bacteria, we've got good ones, we've got bad ones. The bad ones we call pathogens. They make us sick, all right? They're germs, what you would call commonly a germ. And then we have our protists. Now the protists, like the bacteria, some of the bacteria, remember, protists, eukaryotic, where your bacteria were prokaryotic. And if you recall, because they didn't have a true nucleus, and I explained that to you, and I said prokaryotic before the proper or true nucleus, eukaryotic, it's now a little bit more advanced, and it has a perfect nucleus, which will have all its whole genetic information. Now, we say protists belong to the kingdom Protista. So it's one of the main kingdoms in the 5-kingdom classification. And what does it include? Well, we've got our protozoans, which are single-celled little structures. You've got slime molds. I mean, that sounds awesomely pleasant. And then we have our algae. Okay? Now, if we look at all the different types of protists we have, there are, oh my gosh, millions and millions of different types, shapes, structures, etc., etc. And you find them everywhere, mainly in water. So you would get them in fresh water, seawater, and also blood. Why? Because blood contains 90% water, and that's where your pathogens will come in. Like, for example, your malaria paramecium sits in there. Okay, so you've got your different sizes. They go from one little single cell, okay, which means that they are unicellular, to your huge 50-meter long size type structures as well. If you've ever been to aquariums, I hope you have, you would, especially if you look at the one that's in Cape Town, there's a beautiful aquarium. There's a huge aquarium in Durban as well. And you know what? There's an aquarium in Pretoria. Tshwane, I don't know, Pretoria, Tshwane. It's in the middle of the town, okay, or close to the middle of the town. And if you go there, you'll be able to see, it's got a full aquarium. You'll be able to look at those, the brown algae and all the different types of seaweeds and stuff that's there. Okay, and then also your protists, remember the blood if they are pathogens. And what does pathogen mean? Pathogen means something that will do harm. Okay, a pathogen, it's a baddie. Then every protists, they're a food source. Why? Because they are the producers, you've got the decomposers, they are the producers in the food web. And then also, if they contain chlorophyll, they're able to photosynthesize. Okay? And if they are able to photosynthesize, they are, in that case, autotrophic. But there are a whole bunch of them, your protists, that are heterotrophic. Now, when I've just finished the grade 10 session, we spoke about autotrophic, can make its own food. Heterotrophic, it can't make its own food, so it has to rely on the autotrophic structures, or it has to rely on organisms that eat the autotrophic structures, and then they eat that. So it's the whole food chain. But here, anything that is autotrophic and contains chlorophyll, which is the green stuff, is able to photosynthesize. And let's just quickly revise photosynthesis. Photo means light, synthesis to make. So photosynthesis would mean when an organism that contains chlorophyll or chromophyle, okay, will trap sunlight energy, right, water, and carbon dioxide. And it puts those three together to produce glucose, which is nutrients, and releases oxygen. And most of the oxygen we have on this planet comes from the algae in water masses. Believe it or not. All right, so source of oxygen. Now I've got a whole bunch of pictures to show you various types of protists. This little guy here is clearly an animal cell, because remember your protists are divided, the various groups are animal and plants. Okay, so if they're plants, they're autotrophic. If they're animals, they're heterotrophic. Here we have a single-celled organism, and it's called an amoeba. And they actually are very sweet to watch. And you can see them. So it's not like one of those little organisms that's so tiny you can't see with a normal school microscope. Go to any kind of dirty water or stagnant-y type water and get a little drop, and guaranteed you're going to find a couple of little amoebas there. Very sweet little characters, and we're going to do their feeding mechanisms just now. Here you've got diatoms, and if you look at these little shapes, I mean, they're amazing. You sort of think, no, Kathy, you've taken these from somewhere else. I haven't. These are what float around, and they form the main food source as producers. They're like the bottom of the producer pyramid. Here's a Uroglena. I mean, look at it. And it's got, you can't really see them, but it's got little, let me get a different color. Let's do it in green. You've got these tiny little hairy things all the way around it. And those little flagella and cilia, the flagella would be like a tail would move it, but all these little cilia move. And as they move and vibrate, they pull the water and the water that's near this little organism closer so it can absorb food. All right, so it can catch its food. But this is just one little cell structure. And then, I mean, here more diatoms. And look at them, they are absolutely exquisite. I mean, who would think that this is what you find? And it's pretty much what whales eat. And you think of a whale, it's like huge, apart from the fact that it ate Jonah. It was Jonah, hey?
Yes, I think so.
Jonah and the whale. He got swallowed by the whale. Okay? But you've got, and Moby Dick was also the whole thing of the whale. But shame, and the whales don't even bite anybody or attack anyone. They're just these huge creatures that love everyone and sort of swim around. They're like these gentle giants in the ocean. And they open and they take this water, and they've got filters that filter out all the phytoplankton and these little tiny little bits and pieces of organism. They don't eat people. Right, so we're all scared of whales. There we go. Now here we've got several species of freshwater diatoms. Again, they fall right on the bottom of the food process, and you can't really see how clear, you can't see the green, but pretty much most of them here are what we term phytoplankton, and they've got the chlorophyll, so they are autotrophic. But again, look at the little shapes. I mean, this one looks like a little fan, and there are a number of them grouped together. There's a this will be a piece of a fan. Okay. Now, if we look at structure, people, first of all, there are two main groups. You're going to find your plant Protistas, and you're going to find your animal Protistas. So we're going to work on our plant Protistas first. Two groups. Okay? First thing, they are going to have your plants, like with all other plants, they have a cell wall. All right? They are mainly unicellular, which means one cell. And they contain, because they are plant-like protists, generally they will contain chlorophyll, which is going to make them look or appear green. Okay, remember chlorophyll is green. Then examples, you've got your algae, all right? They float around in any water mass. And then you've got your various types. For example, your Eugenia, Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, Amelicera. They are all diatoms. They are able to photosynthesize. And you see how the same thing comes up over and over again. It's because they expect you to know this. And just as a by the by, if I was setting a test for you on each one, so you've got your viruses, you've got your bacteria, you've got the protists, and after the protists, we'll do fungi. And once we've done that, if I was setting a group test or an end-of-term test for you, I would ask you as an essay to compare a characteristic in those four groups. I would ask you to explain how they all reproduce, or all what they have in common or don't have in common with regard to structure. And that's a very, very nice question. And having said that, if I was your teacher, when I got to the end, I would ask you to compare them. So start now. Take 2 A4 sheets, or 2 pages, put them together, and when you stick them down with tape, and then write viruses, bacteria, your protists, and your fungi. Okay, so you've got 4 columns, actually 5. And then the column down the side here, you just write all the different characteristics so you can compare them. Cell structure, feeding processes, autotrophic or heterotrophic, single or colonies, etc., etc. And you then have everything on one double sheet. And you can then answer any essay question that you are given on it. Nice way to remember things. But, again, photosynthesize, and they are autotrophic. And because they photosynthesize and they are autotrophic, therefore, they are your producers in the food web. Aquatic, any water. Okay, now you've got your slimy sheath. Now think, don't even look at this. Why would any organism have a slimy sheath around the cell wall? The same reason the bacteria had a slimy sheath, to prevent it from desiccation, drying out. Okay, so it just protects it a little bit. Then they've basically got a very simple little body, which consists of many cells, like, for example, in the case of seaweed. And then you've got your pigment, the chlorophyll, and chromophyle would be your protists that have a yellow color, or an orange color, or a red color. So chlorophyll is specifically green, and then you have those 3, yellow, orange, and red, variations, of course, would end up being the chromophyle. And they can photosynthesize that also with the chromophyle. And you've also got all the beautiful different types of greens. You've got the green, proper greens and the blue greens of all your different algae. The next time you go to any little place where, like these little streams, you don't want a huge fast-flowing river, but if you go to a little stream, and you'll find areas, especially on the lee side of a rock, so the water will flow over the rock, and then this side here is quite, even though the water's moving away, it's got less water movement. You'll see it looks like hair. It looks like the rock is growing green hair, little green hair strands. each of those strands would be a whole bunch of Spirogyra, which is algae, and they all sort of one after the next one after, and they sort of live in a colony, so they make this green hair. Sounds exciting, hey? How are we doing for time, Ty?
I think we're good. I think we've got another 3 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. So we'll just show them here. This is just a or a picture. This is a typical Spirogyra. Now, if I'm going to write on here with green, I hope you're going to see it. This is Spirogyra. Can you see this, Belinda? That's my producer. You see, I've got to check with her. So that's your Spirogyra. And if you look here, the chlorophyll does this. It's in a sort of like a little spiral structure like that. And in there, as those little chloroplast, or the chloroplast strand, because it's like a long chloroplast, as it photosynthesizes and it produces the glucose is stored as little starch granules or pyrenoids in there. So it's actually quite cute. And remember when I said the hair, the green hair, you'd have one Spirogyra and another Spirogyra and another one, and that's what ends up forming those green strands within a rock pool. Okay. Here's chromophyle. So this is seaweed, and I'm sure you've seen these lying on the beach. And then here is a long strand of a Spirogyra. I forgot I actually put the slide on, but there is one cell, and there is your other cell. So here you can actually see 3 cells, and there's the spiral chlorophyll. So it's actually quite a pretty little thing. Now, I mean, I don't expect you to get excited about it, but maybe with these diagrams you'll remember. So these are your plant-like. They're autotrophic. They photosynthesize, and they are able to produce their own food. Sorry, that's why they're autotrophic, and they then form producers. They're right on the at the biggest level that we have in the food chain. And then, of course, you got the decomposers. They take over from everyone, but they're so small, we need so many of them. Okay, and before we go on to the animals, I think we should actually just quickly check. Ty, how are we going here with our likies and our dislikies?
We literally have 9,983 people.
Okay, I've got a bet. What's the time now?
It's 20 past 5, almost.
20 past, okay. So thanks, guys. I lost. Okay, because I said by 5:15, we would have 10,000 likes. You've let me down, hey? I'm disappointed.
I know. I was like, you know what, Kathy almost had it right. Almost there, but then a couple of minutes short.
Come on, guys. Get onto there now. We're going to take a little break. And while we're breaking, I want to see your fingers. I want to just see it go coop, 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 coop. All
so,
right?
guys, remember, keep telling your friends to keep liking the page. But also make sure you come back with your notes and pads ready to keep writing notes. For now, we'll see you after this break.
Very important. Cheers.
Welcome back, Mindsetters. Mindsetters, are you with me? You're with me, eh? All right, guys, you know what? We're so close. We're so close. Like, it just jumped now. We're almost 12 likes away.
Yeah, we're going to have a bit of a problem, though.
You think?
Because, you see, we've got a producer who flies in here on a broomstick. And she told us that we may not celebrate 10,000 until we finish this grade 11 group. So, you know, we've got to listen to them because they're the ones that pay us. So we've got to be nice here. But what we will do is we'll whisper it to you, and then we'll throw our arms up and tell you who it was that was our 10,000th person. Okay, and I think that's enough. Ty, can I start so we can get as far as we can
for it,
through
Kathy.
here?
Take it away.
Okay, cool.
Take it away.
I know this is very exciting, and oh my heavens, I mean, I know this is difficult, and I know it's boring, and so I think, what? Who cares about protists? We do. I'll tell you why, because we're going to look at amoeba, we're going to look at malaria, because malaria comes from this whole little group of organisms, this kingdom of Protista. Okay, animal-like protists, remember, they're going to be heterotrophic, okay? So they're going to be part of the consumers. that you find in the food pyramid, okay? These are just a couple that you need to, they're examples. You've got amoeba, we spoke about earlier. You've got paramecium, that's a little guy that's got all kinds of little cilia to make it move. It looks like a millipede with lots of little legs, but the legs are all around the little body. And then we have Plasmodium, and this is your vicious little pathogen. All right, they are heterotrophic, therefore they are consumers. Autotrophic can make their own food, so they are producers. Heterotrophs are consumers. They have to eat autotrophs, okay? And then you've got they get eaten, and they get eaten, and they get eaten, and we end up with the whole food pyramid and food chain. Your Plasmodium specifically is a parasite, okay? And if it is parasitic, remember, with the whole parasite process, you did this in grade 10, you had symbiosis. Do you remember symbiosis? So we look symbiosis. And symbiosis is a relationship that organisms have with each other. And you get 3 different types of symbiotic relationships. The first one was mutualistic. So Ty and I are mutualistic. We both enjoy each other, we both need each other, and we work together to make things better. And we work together so we can give you lessons to help you learn extra. Okay? Mutualistic. Then you get commensalistic. Now, commensalistic would be if one organism benefits and another organism doesn't benefit and it doesn't lose out. Like your shark and your remora fish. The shark floats around, it eats, it's a messy eater, and the food just goes flying out of it, little bits and pieces out of its mouth, and the remora fish sort of hang in there, and they swim next to the fish, or they hook on, the shark, or they hook onto the shark, and as these bits of food come out, they eat it. Shark doesn't care. He didn't get the food anyway. The food's out. Okay, but the remora fish benefit by being with the shark. That's commensalism. One benefits, and one doesn't benefit or lose. And then we get parasitism. And with your parasitic relationships, come on people, you know, the parasite benefits and the host is harmed. Generally not so much that it kills the host, but in some cases, the host can suffer enough to actually die. All right, so we've got our symbiotic relationship, and your Plasmodium is the little guy that is going to cause things like, for example, malaria. And that's just an example. I mean, there are lots and lots of different types of diseases, so it's an example. And it's parasitic. Okay, I wrote malaria. I don't know what's going on with me. Then they also move by means of your protists, your animal protists, by pseudopodia, or cilia, or flagella. Now, what is the difference between those 3? Okay, if we look at pseudopodia, P-S-E-U, that means pretend. Okay, pretend, or we can say false. Okay, so pretend or false. Podia, arms. So what it's telling you is they are pretend or false arms. Is your pseudo and the podia. Cilia are just little things that stick out. So if that's the little organism, they've got these little hairs, and I showed these to you earlier. These little cilia, they increase the surface area, and they move. And when they move at that rate, it propels this little organism around, but it also makes sure that it creates like almost like a wave towards itself, and it circulates the liquid towards itself so it can get the food and catch the food. And then our last one was a flagella. So if we've got our little, we had these in the bacteria as well. A flagella is like a tail. Right. Oh, what am I doing? A tail. You see, I'm focusing on teaching rather than writing. My writing is disgusting. I'm sorry, guys. You're going to have to live with us. Okay, and let's just finish this one here. And then we've got gaseous exchange. So that's how they move. And then how do they breathe? Okay, oxygen must go in. They're organisms. And carbon dioxide must come out. All right, so they're animals. Oxygen in, carbon dioxide out, otherwise they don't have energy. They also need nutrients so that they can make that energy. But we need the oxygen in, so O2 in, and CO2 must leave. And how does it happen? By just purely diffusion. So it doesn't have huge lungs and stuff. So carbon dioxide goes out of the skin, and oxygen goes and diffuses in. All right, I think we're ready for an ad break, huh?
Yes, I think so too.
Cool.
I think this is a very special ad break we're going to be taking. So guys,
We got to whisper because otherwise our producer's going to have a little frothy fit.
yes,
No.
but I can't really say it yet. But then we're gonna go to an ad break, and then we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna, you know what, guys, we'll just see you after the ad break.
Woohoo! Guys, can you believe it? We've actually made 10,000!
Indiana gets a little hat thing.
You are all stars.
Guys, and we promised a cake, and we did it, and my hat is falling
Putting
off.
over it.
It was during, of course, life sciences. So we've got to
Exactly.
take it's life science. We've got to take all the credit, hey?
Yes,
you've
we
got-
do.
Yeah.
We do.
Without
You know.
a doubt, it's our partnership here. Tara.
And you kept
Awesome.
straight
Awesome.
faces, and they kept
and
straight
we've
faces.
got food.
Finally, we have food. Like,
Tyler always complaining we
Yeah,
don't
we're
have
like
food. We're always
hungry.
hungry. So guys, here we go.
no, we're gonna cut into it.
10,000th person. Do you want to tell us who it was?
Okay,
No,
yes. Okay.
Actually, the guy who actually did it
See, it
was
was a guy.
Marcel Cross. You know what, Marcel? Shout out to you. Thank you for liking the page. You know what, guys? This forum was built for you guys. It's for you guys to chat beyond just us, just like teaching. We want you guys to have fun on the page, chat. It's for you guys.
Fun
It's for you
and
guys.
learn and
Exactly.
help each other. And that's what this is all about, hey?
So
And
what
also
we want to
goes a lot
do,
to this Andy
hey,
here.
hey,
Come,
but wait,
Andy,
I've
Andy,
got some.
come.
Okay,
Wait,
let's
wait.
do the
Wait.
10,000, and then. Okay, one,
Come,
two, three.
1, 2.
Two.
Wait, where is that little producer of ours?
Where's Belinda?
Yeah.
Where's
Does she have
Belinda?
a broomstick? Because otherwise she won't be able to fly here
Oh,
quickly enough, hey?
okay, Belinda's in the back
Belinda's
room.
coming, I'm sure. But
Okay,
here
here
we
we
go.
go.
Belinda, this is for you,
Yeah.
darling.
There you go.
Thank you. And to
Yes.
James.
And to the whole team.
Ah. Johan, don't you want to quickly do a little? They know they don't want to do it. They don't want to do
Actually,
it.
people,
Look,
you have
look.
to know.
Yay! So
Those
guys,
are the people that actually make this possible. Okay,
Yeah.
Exactly,
and
guys.
except for Belinda with her broomstick, but besides that, she's actually quite sweet.
Belinda.
She's beautiful. I mean, you're going to look at her and you're going to, all the guys are going to want to date her. She's cute as tie. But, you know, what
okay.
can I
So, but
say?
what I want to say quickly, with Marcel Cross, I know we didn't tell you this, but guys, we did tell you that something very exciting was going to happen. And basically, Marcel Cross will be has won 200 rands worth of airtime and 2,000 rands worth of educational materials from Mindset Learn.
Oh,
So,
excellent. Lovely.
Marcel Cross, for being the 10,000th Mindsetter, you rock, you all rock. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break, eat a little bit of cake, and we'll be back with you with More Learn Extra with Life Science with Kathy and Ty. See you now.
Cool.
Welcome back, Mindsetters. You know, we just hit 10,000. It's a major achievement. We're all excited here at the studio. And yes, I have a little bet that I had with this one student by the name of Kashifa. And Kashifa, as promised, I told you that I was going to take off my hat. Because she's been wondering what's been under my hat this whole time. And like, you know what, guys? I just have to say, like, I am bald. And I'm joking. I have no more hair. But guys, here, so Kashifa, you see, I just have no more hair under my hat, and she wants to see me without my hat, so I'm going to put my hat away, which I don't like to do, actually. But besides that now, we're going to go actually back to the lesson. Guys, I like, wow, I can't even say this enough that this is amazing. We had so much fun doing this. And you know what? We're actually here for the grade 12 session now, doing the eye.
I see, You.
So guys, hope you're ready for another exciting session. I'm going to hand over to Kathy. Kathy, go ahead, take it away.
Hold. How much time have we got, Ty? What is the time?
I think
We've still got 20 minutes
Minutes.
for the grade 12s. So, I mean, for the grade 11s, you were going to do a little jig.
Oh no.
So you do the jig while I get back to my grade 11, my 11 content here, I think.
See, okay, let me see if I can just move my desk just a little bit over. I'm just going to do a little bit. I'm not going to do a lot. I'm just going to do a little bit. So you see, as I said, I used to dance. I actually danced with a crew called Clinch. We've been around for a while, and yeah. So this is basically just a taste. We might do a little bit more in the grade 12 session. So I want to make sure you guys are still watching later. So this is how it goes, right? You're gonna think I don't have bones. It's so awesome. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do this, right? Whoop, 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 whoop. And then it goes down, up, over, and and that's it for now. That's that's all you guys get for now. And I'm gonna put my hat back on because we still have more of a lesson to go. And Kathy, are we good to go? Kathy's eating.
I've got my mouth full of chocolate. You're going to have to just forgive me. Okay, people, here we go. Amoeba. This is a lovely little picture. We've taken it from the Science Photo Library. This gives you an idea of what you're going to see. They're almost transparent. And little amoeba has a nucleus. It's got a cell membrane. And it's got little lysosomes, which will then digest any little substance or organism that it engulfs. Because believe it or not, they're smaller organisms than the little amoeba. Then, here's a Eugelia, and a Plasmodium. I really hope you can see all these little things that are sticking up here like that. Those are your cilia. And then, these are the baddies. Let's take this down here so it doesn't cast a shadow. These are your baddies. These are your plasmodiums that go in and they actually cause the red blood cells to burst. All right, and that's what causes malaria. Now, how they feed. Your amoeba, specifically the amoeba, with its, remember, it's got pseudopodia, those false arms. And the false arms will come along and they form and actually engulf the food particle, and it takes it into its body. It's very, very clever. It's a process called phagocytosis. And you must know that term, phagocytosis. And cytosis has to do with the cytoplasm. So the phagocytosis is the engulfing of a particle and pulling it into the body. And I've got a diagram. I'll show you how it works. So you've got the little food particle trapped around. Once it's in, by that process of phagocytosis, you end up with a lysosome. Now remember, a lysosome, in grade 10 you would have done them. They are organelles. So a lysosome is an organelle. It's inside the cell. Remember, your nucleus is an organelle and the mitochondria is an organelle. There's your lysosome, and its main job is that it contains digestive enzymes. And what does it do? It attaches to the little food vacuole and it releases its enzymes, which will then digest the food. Okay, so as it digests, you're going to have the nutrients. The nutrients are now set free into the cytoplasm, because if you've got your little amoeba, all right, there's your little food particle that it's engulfed. There's the lysosome that has the enzymes. It then releases the enzymes and digests this into lots and lots and lots of little basic food particles. And those food particles can now move throughout the cytoplasm and maybe go to the mitochondria. You follow, where it's going to be used, the glucose will be used to produce energy for this little cell to function. It's unicellular, all right? The food, as we say, it is assimilated. That means it's used. And then just your Paramecium and your Vittala species, they have the cilia, and they vibrate them around, pull the food particle into the little cell, and then they digest them as well. So you've got that same process of the live food particle with like a little, it forms like a vacuole with this little water particle and the little food particle inside there, lysosome, and it digests it. Very simple feeding mechanism. And here are different types. I mean, here's the Vittala, and if you look here, it's got those little cilia all the way around the top, and they vibrate and it moves the food in. So very, very, very clever. Okay, here's Amoeba, and the process of, please, you must know this, phagocytosis. Cytosis, cytoplasm, and it moves around the food particle, and there are the, let me just get a color that you'll see here. These little things that now come around here to try and grab this food particle, because there's your food that it's going to eat, organism. All right, there are the pseudopodia. And they'll come around and they surround the little food particle till eventually it's inside. And, okay, that there would be your nucleus. This is the cytoplasm. Cell membrane. Okay, and then your lysosome will attach to that. And the lysosome will simply release the enzymes into there, and that will digest that little particle. So very, very simple process. Because remember, these are just single-celled organisms. They're not huge mammoth things. Just one little cell. So it's got to have, instead of us having our tummy and our small intestines, here it just has the little lysosome. All right, now if we look at the symbiotic relationships, people, you need to know this. Okay, we've gone through this. You've got the chlorophyll and the chromophyle, and then we're going to have photosynthesis, which is why they are called producers in the whole food process, because it makes them autotrophic. And my gosh, if you don't know this by now, wow, you're never going to know it. So there we go. Producers. Now, your diatoms. All right, di means two. So your diatoms are your single-celled little and it should be protists. And what they do is, that's what the main diet of whales, which I told you earlier. They also on the lower level of the consumers. So your little protist animal cells, okay, they like amoeba. They'll be like the first lot of consumers, the most basic consumers you can get. And then you've got the guys that cause disease. So they will be parasitic and pathogenic. Remember, parasitic, and because they cause disease, it'll be pathogenic. You've got to know these terms. And us, little humans, we unfortunately are the guys that end up being hurt. All right, now, malaria. There's a whole bunch of facts about malaria. The main thing you need to know is that it affects an incredible amount of African, when I say African people, I'm talking about people in the continent of Africa. Okay, that's where we get incredible amounts of malaria. For next year, when you go to grade 12, we do genetics. And you will then learn, and we also do a lot of diversity, which you're going to do this year too. But within the whole diversity process, you've got people that have sickle cell anemia. And that means that the red blood cells, instead of being round disc-shaped structures, are long. They look like a little sickle. Okay, so they're long and narrow. And it ends up causing a person to have not enough proper red blood cells, because those proper red blood cells contain hemoglobin, which carries oxygen, okay, all around your body. And you'll know, especially the girls, because girls generally can be quite anemic. If you don't take in enough iron, you can't make hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a pigment that is like a taxi. It's an oxygen taxi. And if your cells don't get oxygen, then you can't make energy. So somebody who's anemic will end up feeling weak and tired, etc. All right, how would you know? Your hair starts to fall out. by the way. And if you look in the eye, where you've got the pink of the eye, which we're going to be doing with the grade 12s later on, is very, very white. And that means that there's less red blood cells than there should be. All right. So main issues that you must know about malaria: it affects a heck of a lot of people in Africa. Okay, it's the Plasmodium that causes it. How does it get transferred? It's by the female, the female mosquito. And when that female mosquito comes along and it bites a person, as it sticks its proboscis, its mouthparts, sucking mouthparts, into your skin, it actually releases its saliva into your skin. And when it does that, in that saliva is an anticoagulant. So your blood doesn't clot. It stops your blood from clotting for just a few seconds while it sucks the blood out. Okay. But it's that saliva that it sticks in. So then what happens? It's now got its blood and off it goes. What makes you itch is the rate at which you respond to the anticoagulant that's stuck in your hand or in your body. That's what the itch is. Okay, now, best of all is, this mosquito has now sucked on a person who has malaria. The Plasmodium is small enough to be sucked up with the blood into its gut. And when it gets into the gut, all kinds of things happen, and I'm going to show you just a diagram of the whole food cycle, or the process, the life cycle of malaria, and that's all you really need to know to be able to explain that life cycle, and that it affects a lot of people in Africa, and that if you have sickle cell anemia, if it's you or me, where we don't live in a malaria belt and we don't have malaria, it can make us feel very, very sick, and we really, really battle. But if you live in a malaria belt, those sickle cell cells they actually stop the Plasmodium from being able to attach to draw protein, and they die. So people with sickle cell anemia, it's a way to survive in a malaria belt. So you've got the saliva, blah, 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 and I'm going to take you to the diagram because we really are running short of time here. This is the Anopheles, blah, 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 mosquito. All you have to know is that it's a mosquito that's a malaria vector, and that it's the girl mosquitoes, the female mosquitoes, that are the ones that zap you. The male mosquitoes are good. They're the ones that just buzz around and make a noise. Okay, now, here we've got the mosquito. It sucks a person that has malaria, sick person, and it then attaches to the stomach wall. When it's there, it gets, the zygote attaches, it develops, and it is released. And here you have your sporozoite, and that then goes, when the mosquito bites somebody in the saliva, it'll go into the human's bloodstream. It travels to our liver, and that's where the problem is. In the liver, it will invade a liver cell, and then once these little merozoites are right, this liver cell bursts, so it bursts open, and these little guys are released, okay? But now, they don't just go and do their thing, they reinvade the liver cells again. I mean, hello. So your liver is really under strain. They then move into your blood cells, and when they get into, this is your red blood cell. And when they get into the red blood cell, they then reproduce and they burst. And when they burst that red blood cell, that's what causes the fever, and they then reinvade more red blood cells. And that's what makes people with malaria get so terribly ill because of this. And then what happens? Now these guys are floating around, all these little dormant gametocytes here of the Plasmodium are floating around in the blood, person suffering from malaria, along comes mosquito, bites, and pulls it out. Okay, that's the whole cycle, and I just wanted to show you this, very important. We've got very little time left. There's your sickle cell red blood cell, shaped blood cell, and here are your normal red blood cells, people, and this is the whole biochemistry that scientists have now decoded, and they say that it's that is why people in Africa can survive. It's an adaptation, right? And also remember, it's a recessive gene, so both parents must have it to pass it on to babies. Ty,
Yes.
over
yes.
to you.
Thank you. So guys, come to the end of another awesome session. I hope you guys, besides all the partying and stuff, were paying attention and still did some learning, because that's what we are here for. Besides the fact that we're celebrating 2000, which is a major landmark for us, guys, again, we cannot thank you enough. We are here because of you and because we love to teach and love to share with you guys. So guys, always don't be afraid to share the page. Tell your friends to tell friends, and we keep getting the next one. We're trying to get to 100,000. Okay, guys, but for us, bye.